Hey guys, in today's video I am going to talk about how you can make cinematic looking videos with your old camera or any camera that you have at home. It's really tempting to upgrade to a new camera nowadays when camera companies are releasing new cameras every single year, but the question is, do we really need to? Right now I'm shooting this scene with my A7S Mark II in 4K and the image looks really nice. But what would you say about this shot? Or this shot? Both of these were shot with the same camera, with the A7S Mark II, but they looked terrible. So the question is, what makes a shot look good? And can we make a good-looking cinematic shot with an old DSLR like this Canon 700D or even an old iPhone 8 Plus? Correct exposure is really huge and it should be really the first thing you master when you are starting out with photography and filmmaking. Recently I have made an in-depth video about how to set a correct exposure, so if that is what you need to know, go and watch that video right after this one. But let's take a look again at the first shot from the intro and let's see how it will look correctly exposed. As you can see, it looks much better. And by the way, later in this video I will show you how I will apply all of these tips to the footage from the Canon 700D and to the footage from the old iPhone 8 Plus. I will also show you if I can make that footage look cinematic just by applying these few tips. So stay with me. If you have at least 1 minute to consider the white balance during your shoot, definitely don't use auto white balance. You can use auto white balance for some kind of run and gun shoots or vlogs where you don't want to achieve the most cinematic look. However, incorrectly set white balance can really ruin your shot and it can be really hard to repair that in post. This is even more true for some older cameras, like for example my old Canon 700D. It's because these cameras don't shoot in high enough bit rates and the footage will fall apart really quickly in post-process. So you have to nail as much as you can in camera. If you are shooting an interview or this kind of talking head shot, don't sit right in front of a plain white wall or in front of some kind of messy and disturbing background. Try to create some depth, like for example in this shot. But how can you achieve such depth in your shot? Like for example here, there's a whole lot of space behind me. I'm shooting with the 55mm lens, which creates that background compression effect, and I'm also shooting at f2.8, which blurs the background and separates me nicely in the image. Next huge aspect in creating a cinematic shot is lighting. Let's take a look at one scene without any additional lights. The only light source here is the window, which is approximately 3 meters away from me to my left side. I have nailed the exposure, white balance, and I have also composed the shot so it will not look really boring, even though there is not that much space there. But it still looks kind of flat. It's not bad, but it's not cinematic. Now let me show you the same scene, but this time with some additional lights. I'm using 4 lights here in this setup. So first of all, there is the key light. I'm using the Aputure 120D with the light dome. It's the first version, but it's still really great. Then there is the second LED panel right behind me. And I'm using that one as my hair light, and it also brings up the overall ambience of the room. And then there are 2 more accent lights in this setup. First of all, there is the lamp behind me. As you can see, it illuminates the background and also my face here, so it makes the shot a little more interesting. And the second accent light is over there in the corner, which illuminates the frame. So as you can see, there is a huge difference between these 2 shots. At the end of the video, I will tell you why this is probably the most important step in creating cinematic image and why investing in a lighting setup might be a better option for you than investing in new camera. So stay with me. Okay, There is of course the post-processing, or color grading if you want. I will not spend much time here because I'm planning to make a separate video about this topic, but the bottom line is that you can really accentuate the mood of your video with color grading. But if you want to be able to color grade your footage, you need to follow the previous steps, like for example setting up the correct exposure, white balance and composition. And now to the final point of this video. Let's apply these 5 tips to 3 different cameras. My A7S Mark II, my Canon 700D and my iPhone 8 Plus. I'm really curious if I can get a decent looking cinematic image out of the older cameras, out of the Canon 700D and the iPhone 8 Plus, and how they will compare to my A7S Mark II. So as you can see, you can achieve nice looking shots even with your older camera or with your iPhone. Let me now explain why I think that it might be better for you to invest in a lighting setup than to invest in a new camera. Let's say that you still have a Canon 700D or any other older DSLR camera. If that's your case, it probably means that you have an APS-C camera. Now if you will be upgrading to a full-frame mirrorless camera, whether it's Canon, Sony or whatever, you will need to buy a new body and probably also some lenses. So here are your options. You can go with cheaper but still decent quality cameras, like for example Canon EOS R, Sony a7C or maybe Fuji X-T4. Each of these cameras costs approximately $1,700. Then you will of course need a lens. You can buy for example a Sony 24-70 f4 for $900 or Canon 24-70 f2.8 for $650. So this combo will approximately cost you $2,400. Then you can of course buy a future-proofed camera like for example the Sony a7S Mark III or Canon R5, but then you will have to spend between $4,000 and $4,500. That's a lot of money. But on the other hand, you can get a decent lighting setup for only $1,200. Let me explain. You can buy one Aputure 200D, then two Aputure 100Ds for $700. Then if you will buy two modifiers like the Light Dome Mini or whatever it's called, you will spend another $200. That is $900 total. Then you will of course need light stands for these lights. So let's say you will spend $300 for 3 light stands. That makes it $1,200. That's $1,200 versus $2,400 or even $4,000. As I showed you in this video, you can get pretty decent image out of an old DSLR or even an iPhone if you will use lights. On the other hand, you can end up with some pretty bad and destroyed image even with something like the A7S Mark II, well, maybe even A7S Mark III, if you don't know how to use it. But what about paid gigs, you may ask? Well, of course, you cannot show up on a wedding day or on a commercial shoot with a Canon 700D. You can, however, rent a better camera for these kind of situations. If you will learn how to make footage from an old camera look good with using lights and all of the tips I've mentioned in this video, you will have much better results with rented camera. On the other hand, if you will buy a new camera for several thousands of dollars and you will not know how to use it, well, the results might not be that good anyways. Well, that's it for today, guys. I really hope that this video was helpful somehow, and if you like it, don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button with the bell because it really makes a difference. And well, I will see you next time.